This is The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, the biggest late-night show of its time. It made stars even more famous, keeping millions watching every night. But there's a side of the show that isn't talked about much. Some guests didn't just join the fun, they took over, caused chaos, or made things so tense that even Johnny struggled to keep smiling. Here are the 8 guests Johnny Carson hated the most. Let's start with a superstar who acted like he owned the stage, Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra showed up to The Tonight Show with a crew that screamed "Big deal." Bodyguards, a personal tailor, even detectives following him. NBC security treated his arrival like a president's visit. Backstage, Sinatra's team demanded a colder studio, a teleprompter for his song lyrics, and space for 12 friends by the stage. Carson, who liked to run things his way, wasn't happy but said okay. When a young producer got a bodyguard's name wrong, the guard pulled him out of the hallway. Carson later told friends, "It's Frank's world. We're just filming." Frank's big personality made Carson feel like a guest on his own show. Fans cheered, but Johnny was glad when the segment ended. He kept the show going, but Sinatra's demands stuck with him. Frank's charm was huge, but it messed with Johnny's control. By the end, Carson was ready to take back his stage. But Sinatra's big ego was nothing compared to the next guest's scripted takeover. Bob Hope was a TV legend, loved by sponsors and fans. But his visits came with a pile of baggage. His team sent The Tonight Show stacks of pre-written jokes, product plugs, and even camera directions. For Carson, who loved making things up on the spot, it felt like being forced to follow a boring script. During shows, Hope barely looked at Johnny, staring at his cue cards, waiting for his next joke. Once, Carson tried asking a surprise question, but Hope just ignored it, stuck to his cards, and told his planned joke. Carson snapped, "Texaco gets more airtime than me," but his joke hid how annoyed he was. Backstage, he grumbled, "I'm just warming up for his ads." Hope's planned jokes killed Johnny's free-flowing style. The crew saw Johnny's smiles get stiff during Hope's bits. He kept the show fun, but Hope felt like a never-ending commercial. Carson's charm stayed strong, but Hope wore him out. When Hope left, Johnny was ready to run the show his way again. Fans kept watching, but Carson was relieved to move on. If Hope's scripts were a pain, the next guest's betrayal hit Carson like a punch. Joan Rivers was Carson's favorite, appearing over 90 times and filling in as host 190 nights. She sent him sweet notes and even birthday cakes with "Boss" written in icing. But in 1986, she made a move that broke their bond. Fox offered her a late-night show with total control, something NBC never gave her. She didn't tell Carson, worried NBC would cancel the deal if they found out. Carson learned about it on the evening news and was furious. Rivers called him that night, but he told the crew, "I'm not talking to her," and hung up. The next day, her name was banned from The Tonight Show. Rivers' show failed, and she later cried in interviews about the call that never happened. Carson never got over it, and the ban lasted through Jay Leno's time. When Jimmy Fallon had her on in 2014, it felt like a weight lifted. But for Johnny, her betrayal stung forever. The drama showed how much loyalty meant to him. His silence said more than any joke ever could. Now, let's talk about a guest who scared Carson in a way nobody expected. Wayne Newton hated Carson's jokes about his Vegas shows. Johnny once said, "Vegas is getting brighter lights. Wayne Newton's hair needs sunlight to grow." The crowd laughed, but Newton, who'd just bought a big hotel, was mad. In 1980, he burst into Carson's office, shirt open, hands in fists. He leaned over Johnny's desk and said, "Call me a joke again, and I'll show you the punchline." Carson, who didn't scare easily, just nodded quietly. Newton stormed out, and Carson sat still for a whole minute. That night, all Newton jokes were cut from the show. One intense moment changed how Johnny picked his punchlines. Newton's bold move shook Johnny's usual cool. He kept the show running smoothly, but Newton's visit left a mark. Carson's wit stayed sharp, but he watched his words around Newton after that. The stage was his, but Newton's warning was a rare challenge. But the next guest's slow style gave Carson a different kind of headache. Fred Rogers seemed like a dream guest. Mr. Rogers on The Tonight Show sounded like a warm, happy moment. But his slow, calm way of talking didn't match Carson's fast, funny style. Carson tried a fun joke, showing off sneakers, "For you," Rogers smiled. "That's nice, Johnny. Sneakers make us ready to play." The crew got nervous as the show fell behind schedule. Ratings dropped a bit during Rogers' part, and the laugh counter only hit 22, way less than usual. Carson stayed kind, knowing making fun of Rogers would look mean, but he was sweating. After, he told a crew member, "Put him after a comedian next time. I need coffee after that." Rogers' kindness won fans, but Johnny had to work hard to keep things lively. The segment was sweet, but Carson was happy when it ended. He kept smiling, but Rogers' slow talk tested him. Fans loved Rogers, but Johnny needed a boost to keep going. If Rogers slowed things down, the next guest turned chats into long speeches. Charlton Heston treated The Tonight Show like a serious speech. When Carson asked, "Chuck, ever get hurt filming those chariot races?" Heston started talking about growing up on a ranch, drama school, and big ideas about risk. 5 minutes later, he finally mentioned a broken rib. Carson nodded nicely, but the band was bored, waiting for something to happen. Heston went off on tangents, quoting old writers and praising the NRA, which messed up Johnny's fast joke rhythm. One 1987 show only got 9 laughs, way less than the usual 30. The crew brought in funny guy Don Rickles after Heston to bring back the energy. Rickles walked out, saw the quiet crowd, and said, "What happened? Did the audience die?" Carson told Rickles later, "Always put a wild card after Heston. Heston could still come on, but with rules, 8 minutes, no politics, one big story max." Heston's big presence was strong, but it threw Johnny off. Carson kept things going, but Heston's long talks felt like forever. The crowd liked Heston, but Johnny wanted funnier moments. Heston's style fit movies better than late-night chats. Carson stayed smooth, but Heston's intensity was tough to handle. Speaking of wild cards, the next guest brought a storm of chaos. Don Rickles was like a tornado, throwing insults like, "What's this? 30 million people watching a hockey puck." Carson laughed along until Rickles went too far. In 1976, while filling in as host, Rickles broke Carson's favorite cigarette box. The next night, Carson found out on air, stormed to Rickles' set, and said, "You broke my box." Rickles played it up, and the crowd loved it. But off camera, Carson was mad. Rickles ignored time signals and made risky jokes. In 1985, after he teased an audience member's weight, fans complained a lot. Carson made rules: keep insults light, stay family-friendly. Rickles followed them, just barely, because they were friends. But Johnny was nervous every time Rickles was on. Rickles' quick jokes made people laugh, but they stressed Johnny out. He loved the chaos, but Carson wanted things under control. The crowd went wild, but Johnny was happy when it was over. Rickles was a pal, but a handful. Carson kept the laughs going, but Rickles pushed his limits. Fans loved the wild energy, but Johnny was ready for the next guest. And finally, a beloved star whose slow stories gave Carson a different challenge. On the 1989 New Year's Eve show, Johnny Carson welcomed Jimmy Stewart, calling him an amazing actor and person. But Stewart's slow, wandering stories didn't fit Carson's quick, funny style. When Johnny asked about old Hollywood, Stewart talked about fields and rabbits near an airport. Fans loved him, but the crew saw Johnny's smile get tight as the show slowed down. Stewart's gentle way was great for movies, not late-night jokes. Carson didn't dislike Stewart. He really liked him, but the slow pace was tough. Backstage, he joked, "Jimmy's awesome, but I need strong coffee after him." Still, Johnny stayed charming, making Stewart's stories feel warm and showing why he was a late-night king. Stewart's tales were sweet, but Johnny worked hard to keep the show lively. So, which moment surprised you most? Tell us in the comments, and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes stories like these.